Hey Goobs, it's me Jeff, aka the Furry, and coming today for some apparent reasons. So, in today's video we're going to be looking at why do people leave this fandom, which I won't lie is actually pretty interesting because this could actually be on a big scale of minor reasons to leave the fandom to really problematic reasons that are in our community. Now, if I'm honest, I'll go straight to the point with this because it's so true, and I don't really want to sugarcoat this because it is the facts, is that many people will most likely leave this fandom because of something that they've seen online or just a post. Which it just kind of shows how easily that simply of a post could change someone's narrative or their enjoyment in a group, which honestly is very understandable and very yet respected. But at the end of the day, I also want to talk about some reasons that I've heard of people leaving this fandom. One of them reasons is drama. This fandom really has too much drama, and if I'm honest, I've seen people leave, because of that. Kind of makes sense. I can't even disagree with this because this is just one, I think it's like one out of two reasons of why people have left when I spoke to them. But, this is just like a very, very minor detail of people leaving. Now, another, I guess you could say, a minor reason is could just easily fall into, oh, it's too expensive, or, you can't really start off unless you spend a lot of money, etc., etc. Now, I always say that you don't need a fursuit to be a part of this fandom, nor do you need expensive artwork or a lot of artwork. I actually always want to say this because you could easily find art for free. There's free to use bases. You just have to put up a bit of the effort in making it yourself, you know what I mean? And please, for the love of God, don't use ChatGPT for your persona, please. But it's just there's reasons like that. But I've actually heard some interesting ones, there's, the fandom's toxic, which I actually never really assumed this fandom to be toxic. I've seen toxic communities, and I just never think that the furry fandom's toxic. Sure, it has its moments of being a pretty, aggressive community at times, yeah. But is it seriously to the point where we can actually deem it to be toxic in the regards of everyone being bad and it's just being a common theme? I don't know. Personally, I don't really know. I can't really say yes or no. That's why I'm leaving it to you, not me. But that's just one of many reasons of people leaving this community. And if I'm honest, it's actually quite interesting because out of any other ordinary community, the furry fandom seems to have this real nice interest of people leaving this community because of just minor small reasons, or people leaving this community because of something a bit more personal. Because I've even heard people leave this community because of how politically seen the community is. Now, if for those that have no idea, this fandom is clearly a left-wing sort of group, and honestly, I don't really give a fuck. At the end of the day, if you don't like that, then you're most likely not going to enjoy the community, hence why the people who are probably right-wing might leave. Which, honestly, I'm not even surprised, and if anything, grass is green. But it's just one really surprising reason because it's crazy how politics could actually change someone's perception on a group of people that, in my opinion, shouldn't even be political in the first place. Sure, have your politics and everything like that, be like that, it's pretty cool. But once you start, I suppose, making it your entire gig in a group or a fandom, it just seems a bit stupid. That's just my opinion, though. I'm actually going to look into a Reddit post that I found talking about this. This was actually one of my inspirations to making this video as a whole, because it starts off with former furries of Reddit. Why did you leave the fandom? And honestly, this is kind of my big inspiration for making this video. But one reason of someone saying it is oh, it's too much shedding, which, understandable. It could be quite a pain doing that stuff, so, I get it. But the owner of the post, I guess, is it the owner? I don't know. The creator of the post who made it actually had some pretty decent reasons. I won't read through all of it since, I tried to. In one of my takes, it didn't go very well. So I'll just simply, simplify it. Now, one of his first reasons is that it's too expensive and you have to pay for a lot of things like art, fursuit, things like that. In my opinion, you don't have to really buy or create a fursuit, but if people, want to do that extra step, they can do. It's nothing that's should be taken in a way where you have to. It's just something that's optional. But art is also another optional thing. At the end of the day, being a furry is just enjoying anthropomorphic animals. Just the OC is just a bonus that many furries do because they think it's cool and awesome. I mean, I did it myself before I even joined the community because, I like anthros. That's pretty cool. Now, the second one in his points is actually how the culture in the fandom is like a high school. Now, this is something that I actually kind of liked when I read this, because this is actually a pretty good way of, I guess you could say, showing the fandom's bit shitty side, with how people who are popular in the fandom having a lot of money to burn on art, fursuits, etc., and people that, can't afford it or have no interest seem to be treated as outcasts. Now, personally, I've never seen this. Like, I'm being genuine, because I don't waste my money on this shit either. But am I an outcast? No. I mean, I'm pretty... I think I'm pretty okay when it comes down to being in this community. I mean, I don't think anyone treats me like another person because I don't have money. I think that's a bit stupid. And if anything, I think that's just, like, very pathetic. And just showing how insecure people can be. But he's basically also saying how if you have dare to speak your mind, you're also labelled as problematic. Now, this is actually 50-50. I actually want to say 50-50 on this, because some of the things you can say, yes. But it isn't like, oh, you like, don't follow every furry's like rule. That means you're like, oh, problematic. It's not necessarily like that, in my opinion. I know. I'm sugarcoating this one, aren't I? But I do know where he's coming from, because it feels like if you just say one thing, especially, and I'm not saying this because I defend these people, by the way, I'm just saying this as a good example because I've seen it happen in the fandom. But if you are right wing, you're basically not going to have an opinion in this community. And that's just because, like I said beforehand, it's very, like, left-wing. One of his other points is, you know, he was also emotionally abused by a poppy fur. This is more of a personal reason, which actually is a very understandable reason to not be a part of the furry fandom, because, well, if you've had a really toxic environment with a very known person in that fandom, then yeah, understandable. And he also just said about the sex pests, which is people who like post sexual stuff that are very, very sexual, the degeneracy, which I guess could follow into that, but then also pedophilia apologists. I've seen a few of these, but like with people being like zoophilia apologists and pedophile apologists in the fandom, you don't really see them, how do you say this in a nice way, you don't really see them being accepted in our community. And it's only because I've just read some comments below their posts saying they're a fucking moron. Yeah, that is basically one of the things I've seen, and that was on Twitter. One of the only rare times I go on Twitter, by the way. Out of this guy's like entire like thing, it's actually a very, very good chunk of information of reasons to leave this community if you don't like it. Honestly, and in my opinion, like I said, this is a mostly valid post. Like, you know, sure, I do have some disagreements, but at the end of the day, if this is his own opinions and thoughts, that's his opinions and thoughts. There's nothing wrong with that. But one of the other things is that I went to the AI slop of ChatGPT to, you know, mostly just see what's what, see if I could dig up anything else, because I'm lazy. I was lazy that day, if I'm honest, and I couldn't be asked looking it all up. But basically, ChatGPT said, well, a lot of reasons for people leaving the community, and if I'm honest, I'll just simply list them out as quick as I can. I won't try and explain them, but one of them is change in interests, which, yes, I know, that's basically one of the things I did mention. Like, okay, well, people just don't seem interested in the fandom anymore, being a furry, so, you know, that's that. Like, another one is actually having a burnout and, like, a social fatigue in the fandom, which, you know, these things can happen. And honestly, I've had my own. Community conflict or negative experiences, these could actually fall into, like, drama, being, like, excluded from people, being, like, harassed in the fandom, being, like, made fun of. Like I said, these things just happen online in general, in my opinion, but this does happen in the fandom a bit, so, you know, this is a good reason. And it's also, like, the identity changes in the fandom, which, yeah, this is actually pretty good. And also practical stuff, like, you know, the cost of things like conventions and art and things like that. Basically, what the guy on Reddit said, which, if I'm honest, these overall, from what I've mentioned, are actually very good reasons and understandable reasons for people leaving this community. It is a shame that we can't always be a perfect fandom, but I just want to say this before I disappear, that no community is perfect. No matter what you want to say, there's no community out there that's perfect. In a matter of fact, I know many problematic communities outside being in the furry fandom. Other communities will have their own problems as well, so it isn't just the furry fandom to worry about. And even if you are worrying about how our image is perceived, as much as I'm one of them people, yeah, I know, I'm pretty fucking, you know, I worry about this community a lot because I really love it. It's a really nice community. But at the end of the day, it's just something that when you, like, look at it, there's nothing you can really do. And at the end of the day, the only thing you can do is either do choices of leaving, just like leaving because you just don't agree with something, or you can try and stay and either change or just ignore these people that you disagree with online. Personally, it's up to you what you do at the end of the day. And like I said, right, if you're like a part of the Goob Empire, aka my community, I won't care. Like, honestly, do what you want. But yeah, anyway, I'm gonna disappear now, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye, Goobs.